Ooh, and we are live. Oh, gotta fix that. Gotta fix it. Fix it. Maybe that's fixed. All right, let's check out the webcam settings here. I got no viewers right now. Let's edit this up a little bit. Contrast. Whoa, don't do that. What's up, guys? What do you think of another Packers victory? What are our thoughts for another Packers podcast again here? What were we at 2 hours after the end of the game? Let's see here. I actually have webcam settings this game, so or this chance, so we want to dive into that. But go ahead, comment down in the comment section. Let me know any questions you might have, thoughts, feedback. After the Packers pull off a 21-16 victory out there in Lambeau Field. I'm just messing with my camera right now, trying to get that at all. Well, that's a little bit better. That was close. It's giving me a mirror image though on the sign. I don't know why that is. Take a drink of coffee. What's up? What's up, Nick? So I did have the prediction of 21-17. Had the Packers, or should I say, had Stephon Diggs not taken off his helmet at the end of that last touchdown of the game, it probably would have been 21-17. But luckily, he did take it off, and the Packers managed to find themselves a 5-point victor versus a 4-point victor. I'm just trying to figure out this camera right now. Struggling. I think what I can do here, advanced, and I can zoom in a little bit, right? Oh, shit. Put that down a little bit. That's going up. Why is that going up? What a game is right. So at my Packer parties, we like to take Jello shots and celebrate each time there is a touchdown or a turnover in the game. So that first quarter, that first half, whew, that was a lot to take in. It seemed like quite frequently we were taking Jello shots and celebrating a Packers victory. If you would have asked me, so again, my game predictions heading into the game were a final score of 21-6 or 21-17. If you would have asked me if I would have thought the Packers would get all their 21 points right off there in the first quarter and early second half, I would not have predicted that. I did not think they would get off to that fast of a start, but big time. I mean, one of my keys to victory heading into this game was definitely getting off to a quick start. I think the Packers absolutely capitalized on that standpoint of getting out early. It seemed like their offense very early on in the game was very unstoppable, that the Vikings just couldn't figure them out. They were able to get some passes off to Adams. They were able to establish a running game, and that was definitely a breath of fresh air when it came to notching up another victory, another W, 2-0 on the season, 2-0 in the division, which is huge. I mean, the fact that they can start the season out with 2 division wins is going to be a huge advantage as the season goes on. And yes, we will have losses throughout this year. We will have down weeks, but it's really relieving that we can take an early lead in the division, early lead in the record column, and come away with 2 victories. So, what are your guys' thoughts? What are things that stood out to you throughout the game? What are some moments? I know one of my keys to victory was or one of my headlines of the game was whether or not we'd see Rashawn Gary, and we did not see Rashawn Gary again. That was kind of a surprise. I mean, relatively, we were able to escape the game without any major injuries. Yes, Raven Green was kind of the lone guy that did get carted off the field. Still waiting on an update from him to see what came of that. And then Zadarius went out for a little bit, but they were able to tape up his ankle, and he was able to make it out back on the field. But we didn't see a whole lot of Kevin King once again for the second consecutive week, and I will wait till the stats come in. I'm out there enjoying the game just like the rest of you, so I don't have the stat sheet in front of me as far as snaps and all that good stuff. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if they hold on to this Rashawn Gary character, through midway of the season, because they have not used him at all in the first 2 weeks, that's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds. We're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think I think if you would have asked me at the end of the first quarter, I would have said we were going to the Super Bowl, and then the rest of the game happened, and it was a little bit rocky there towards the end, to say the least. I'll get into that in a little bit though later, as far as what my opinions were, as far as how they finished out the game. But you gotta love the aspect of having a defense. You gotta love that the offense showed up right away and was able to put points on the game, or put points on the board. So that was a huge plus, and definitely a deciding factor for the win. A lot of dropped interceptions. Yeah, it's interesting you bring this up, Nick. So I pride myself on calling plays as they happen and calling them early. Especially, I'm probably the annoying guy at the party if you ever watch a Packer game with me. But that interception that Kevin King pulled down late in the fourth quarter in the end zone, I am confident in saying that was not an interception. I'm completely baffled and surprised that was called one. He did not carry the ball throughout the catch, and but it was definitely a nice, I guess, pat on the back for that defense. It would have been nice to see Jair Alexander come away with that one that Stefon Diggs had to get the 16 points up on the board. I think just another step or two, and he was right there. I don't think he expected Stefon Diggs to actually snag the ball down. I think that caught everybody on that defense a little bit by surprise. But yeah, I mean, there were some drops, but at the same time, if Kevin King dropped an interception against Chicago in week 1, and he was able to get credited for one in week 2 against the Vikings, I think that bodes well. That adds a little bit more confidence to his mindset heading into the week, or heading into next week. But yeah, I mean, this defense, they're flying around. They didn't get a ton of pressure on Cousins. They definitely were able to, throw him off balance. I think we were able to eliminate the run game, but they did go back to that as they were down, by 11 points, by 4 or 5 points. But I think definitely that big lead was able to bode into our favor. Darnell is in a boot, I think. Whew, I did not hear that. Is that accurate? Darnell, are you saying Darnell Savage is in a boot? That can't be good. We're gonna look this up right now. Let's hit this up right now. Darnell Savage. I'm looking. I'm not seeing anything about Darnell Savage in a boot. Darnell Savage and Green are in a boot. Well, that's a problem. I think we need to go out there and get Minkah Fitzpatrick then. Is that what you guys want to hear? There's a lot of Packer fans that are crazy about Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I mean, if we're going to lose Darnell Savage and Raven Green, and they're going to be walking out in boots after the game, then I think that makes sense. I think we have a little bit more reason to go out there and sign somebody, especially if he doesn't, after that blowout against New England today. Should definitely pick up Minkah Fitzpatrick. That would answer that question. Great win. Hope you guys can keep the momentum swinging. Great job for the win. Nice jersey, by the way. Thank you. I had a comment on the last video whether or not or why I don't wear jerseys, or maybe I should start wearing jerseys. I only wear jerseys on game day. That's my superstition when it comes to, I'm sure you guys all have your own superstitions as far as what you think will help the Pack go on to get a victory. But I got my Packer socks, I got some Green Bay Packer shoes, and then I only wear jerseys on game day. I took it off after the recap for the Bears last week just because it was a late night and I was ready to go to bed. But yeah, I mean, Jair Alexander, what a heck of a game. I mean, yeah, he gave up that touchdown to Diggs, and he maybe, for the most part, I think Alexander played a fantastic game. This is 2 weeks in a row. I have all the confidence in the world with him on the outside, guarding the number 1 receiver. And yeah, I mean, I picked this jersey up early. I'm going to rock it pretty much. I'm going to rock it until he ends up getting traded away, because the Packers won't sign him after his rookie contract. And then it will hang in my closet like the rest of my jerseys that I just no longer wear. What else we got here? Trade Josh Jackson and a pick. That might not be a bad idea. I think I saw a couple of those rumors floating around there. Not a bad idea to get rid of Josh Jackson for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think the biggest thing, if we did get Fitzpatrick on the Packers defense, it's his biggest complaint out there in Miami is that he's getting swapped from a cornerback to a safety, to a cornerback to a slot to a safety. You don't want to do that if he comes to Green Bay, I think the difference between playing on a possibly Super Bowl contending team like Green Bay, which, knock on wood, we might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, would be that maybe he's okay with playing different positions. But I mean, I think if you bring him to the team, get rid of Josh Jackson, you got to keep in mind that Tramon Williams, this is his final year at cornerback. So there has to be a backup plan for Tramon Williams once he retires, and you don't really want to be completely empty. You don't want to go out there and draft a bunch of cornerbacks in the next draft, because we should probably start drafting some offense in that 2020 draft. But what do I know? I'm just a lonely Packer fan. Yeah, I mean, of course, Big B, I would love to see him at Packers uni too, but every single team out there seems to be interested. He's had calls from Dallas, Seattle, the Steelers, you name it. I mean, I think every team, the fact that they only want a second-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to cause a lot of people to call in and get some interest on him. But the Packers picked him up. If they were able to snag that one, that'd be a huge victory. And you don't have to pay him a whole lot amount of money. I think he's selling his rookie contract, so you're looking at a couple $1 million a year to keep him on your roster, which is a huge benefit. King is a beast, but when he is healthy, absolutely, you just got to stay healthy. That's all you got to do is stay healthy, Kevin King. And yeah, two consecutive back-to-back games in a row where he has had good performances. He didn't, like I said, he wasn't supposed to play a lot of snaps last week. Ended up playing, what do you play? 40 snaps, 45 snaps, whatever I said in my last video. And then he comes into this week, and I think he was more of an active role on that cornerback group. I think, yeah, I mean, the fact that he's made it now to week 3 without sustaining an injury is a huge benefit for that defense. Congratulations, King. And absolutely, I think he is a beast. When he is healthy, he's the difference maker. I said in my last video that he is the X factor on that defense. If he can stay healthy, that's going to mean a lot of good things going on that Packers defense side of the ball. Jackson doesn't really fit our scheme. I would agree with that. We still have Kadar Hallman. We do have Hallman, but I'm not entirely high on Kadar Hallman. And I've made that clear before that I'm not the biggest fan of him. We haven't seen a ton of him, obviously, in the regular season. I don't know if we've actually seen any of him in the regular season in these first 2 weeks. Maybe he can jump up and be a contributor, but I don't think Kadar Hallman is your answer as a replacement to Tramon Williams. Unless he has a huge boost in athletic ability and a huge sophomore leap going into next year. Yeah, I think he stays on the roster, and you got to keep him around the roster, but I don't know if that's exactly what you want to rest your depth on in that cornerback group. Let's see. What does Steve say? Yeah, I was probably the one to ask, but definitely I'm glad you wear the game day and show spirit, even though you're a passionate Packers fan. I'm glad to see you represent your Packers. Of course I'm going to represent my Packers. I got a mug. I got this hat up there. I got there's how many G's? I want you guys to go ahead and count how many Packer G symbols there are in this video. There's one right behind the microphone right here, but yeah, definitely. I mean, got to represent. I'm only gonna wear it on game day though. Only game day. And I got green jerseys for home games and the Darnell Savage away jersey for those away games. Roger's doing better on his check down to the running back. So yeah, let's dive into it a little bit. So we got 14 viewers. Let's see if we can gain a little bit of traction in here. So let's talk about how they actually performed, right? So biggest takeaways from week 1 was that they struggled heading into third down. They couldn't seem to get any traction on those first down and second down plays, and they were going into third and long. I don't think they had a single third down that was less than 3rd and 4. So what did the Packers do, right? To start out the game, the very first play of the game, they do a play action off the run. They're able to get separation, throw to Adams, first down. It was a big play. So these are I really like – I mean, I get the sense from Matt LaFleur that he is hearing all the feedback from around the league. I think he's getting feedback from Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett. I think one thing I respect more about Matt LaFleur as our head coach versus Mike McCarthy is that I think he is in tune with the reality and all the feedback and all the criticism that comes with it. And I think he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders that comes along with being a head coach as well. So yeah, we saw a lot of we saw third downs throughout the game. I think the Packers started out 3 for 3 on third downs throughout the game. And I'll have to look up the stats. I haven't gotten all the stats as far as how they finished the game. But yeah, I really loved the fact that they were able to get yards early. I think they were able to establish the running game. If we look at the running back yards, Aaron Jones finished with 23 carries for 116 yards and 1 touchdown. He had his longest run was 15 yards. So they did not abandon the run. He had more than 20 carries, which I think is absolutely crucial to this zone offense. And 116 yards rushing is incredible. I mean, that's no small feat. Congratulations to that guy. If you have him in your fantasy, I bet you're glad that you started him. But yeah, I think the offense looked good. I think one of my favorite things that they did, and it didn't always work on Sunday or just a couple hours ago while they played the Vikings, but on those 3rd and short, 2nd and short, they throw those screen passes out to their wide receivers. And like I said, it doesn't always capitalize or work for a first down, but I think that keeps the defense guessing. You make a miss block and you pick up a couple of yards, and that benefits that offense quite a bit. Rodgers had a phenomenal game. Quite frankly, what he start the game 7 for 7, 9 for 8, or 8 for 9 at one point. 2 touchdowns early on. They were able to run off and get a rushing touchdown. So the offense looked really good early on. It was one of my key to victories, get out to a very early lead, a fast start. And I think because they were able to do that at that point, all the defense had to do was hone in, hunker down, and stop the Vikings from scoring. And if it wasn't for a 75-yard run by Dalvin Cook, or if it wasn't for that Stephon Diggs touchdown, 2 home run plays were the difference. And that's what the Packers need to clean up and get ready for Denver, which if I'm going to give you a little preview of that Denver game, I think there's an upset alert on the way. And I will explain that in my final thoughts video next Friday. But congratulations, we're 2-0. What an awesome start. He's been good on sideline with the red jersey, neck injury. Let's see. Kadar is hurt, hasn't played. So that's why Kadar Holman hasn't been out there on the field. Appreciate that. You guys are on it. Good job. I love it. Unsung hero, David Bakhtiari playing injured and making Griffin a non-factor. I mean, absolutely. I think the entire Bakhtiari injury was a little bit blown out of proportion. I've spoken about how the Packers take more of a cautious approach with their injuries and how they like to handle their injuries. I don't think, and I think they interviewed Bulaga throughout the week with asking whether or not he was concerned that the offensive line would be at full strength, and he had said something along the lines of, "We're not there yet. We're just not there yet." And I think this was just one of those headlines to just make headlines out of nothing. I don't think Bakhtiari is extremely injured or has anything long-term that we need to worry about. But on the same flip of that coin, yes, he had an outstanding game. I think the offensive line in general had a really strong game. Minnesota did eventually get a couple sacks on Rodgers, 1, 2. It wasn't a whole lot of sacks that they were able to come up with against that offensive line. And Rodgers was out there making classic Rodgers throws and passes. Good job to the offensive line. On the flip side of that, the Vikings offensive line, I think, had a really good job or a really good game as well. You didn't see a whole lot of sacks on Kirk Cousins. Quite frankly, I don't recall really any sacks. Maybe there was one, but Kirk was able to escape the pocket quite a bit throughout the game. He was able to get passes off. Yes, he was pressured. Yes, he was hurried. Yes, he was hit. But there weren't a lot of sacks. I think one of the biggest problems with the Vikings last year was their offensive line, was their inability to create time for Kirk to go out there and make passes. And the Packers were able to mess that entire equation up. Even though he had a little bit of time, he just couldn't connect on his throws. They brought pressure to the game. And I think between Za'Darius and Preston and Kenny Clark, they all had a solid outing once again to make things difficult on the quarterback. What else we got out there? I mean, again, if you're just tuning in, Packers managed to squeak away with a 21-16 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. I'm sure you guys watched the game. You wouldn't be tuning in right now if you didn't watch the game. So I like that comment by Pac-Man Jake, or excuse me, Big B. He goes on to say offense needs to finish games and get first downs. Absolutely. So I was tracking this one 100% throughout the end of the game. I did not want to see the defense kind of be responsible for whether or not the Packers came with the victory. So the offense has the ball with 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in the game. They have a 5-point lead. They do a 2-yard rush to Jones. They do a 13-yard run by Jones, which resulted in a timeout. And then they had a 4-yard run by Jones that led to the 2-minute warning. And then after that, they were able to connect on a pass play. And at that point, they ran the ball 2 more times, able to kick the ball, punt the ball, and Minnesota only had it with about 10 seconds left in the game. So I think that's about as close as you want to get. It was, what is it, 3rd down? I should have took better notes. I think it was 3rd down and short. And my dad asked me, should the Packers, would you go for it at that point to get the 1st down and seal up the game, or would you run it? That's a tough call. So I was of the mindset that they should go for it. They should be more aggressive, get the 1st down, kneel, and you won't have to worry about that Vikings offense getting the ball back whatsoever. But at the flip side of it, they were able to run it, get the play clock down to about 10 seconds before the Vikings got the ball back. For the most part, we were able to see, that's the closest thing that we've had to seeing the Packers offense be able to close out the last couple minutes of the game than what we've seen in a long time. And at that point, all the defense had to do was go out there. They played super prevent defense, obviously resulted in some lateral plays that resulted in a fumble, and the Packers were able to seal it. But I would definitely like to see, I think we were all screaming at our TV, especially late in the 4th quarter, midway through the 4th quarter. If the Packers could just get one more touchdown or a field goal or something, that would have iced the game. It would have created, a real breathing room to get that victory. But they just couldn't get out there. They couldn't put any more points up on the board after that 21 points that they put up early in the game. That was definitely frustrating, and room for improvement. 2 weeks in, we have some room for improvement. Let's see here. Defense is making teams blame the quarterbacks. Absolutely. I love that. I love that comment. I think it will take a solid 4, 5, 6 weeks. I think after that Dallas game, I think at that point they'll actually start giving the defense credit and quit blaming the quarterback for losses. But last time I checked, let me refresh this right now. The Broncos. Okay, the Broncos are losing 6-13 against Chicago, but that's a relatively close game. I thought that one might be a little bit more of a blowout. Brian was also good today. He's pretty well against Hunter. Yes, Kenny Clark got research on because I just come in here and kind of chit chat. And then where do I see our weak points on the team? So we can talk about, let's break it down. So we have special teams. We have a great punter. We have a great kicker. And on the offense side of the ball, we have one of the best quarterbacks so far with Jamal is stacked. More, production of them, but for the most part, if there's a slight weakness, it could be somewhere along that line. It's obviously not your tackles, but I think the offensive line looks good. I love our receivers. Our receivers can catch. And all the pundits out there that don't follow the Packers said, where's the wide receiver depth in this team? And I think you have it. I think obviously Adams is your go-to. I think Allison obviously can catch. MVS can catch. Kumro has not even played that big of a role yet, but he can catch. So I love our wide receiving group. I love our tight end groups. They did not play a factor whatsoever. I started Jimmy Graham in fantasy football. He didn't have a single catch. He didn't have a single yard. So that's obviously disappointing for a multitude of reasons. So I think our offense, I don't really see a whole lot of weakness on our offense. Maybe I'd like to see a little bit better guard play on that offensive line, but for the most part, I like what we have on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think we need to go out there and sign Dez Bryant by any means. I think our wide receiving group is good. When we talk about the defensive line is the biggest thing. Is what I'm realizing right now as I'm kind of rambling this stuff off is the defense just needs, the whole team just needs to stay healthy. I think our defensive line with Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Montravius Adams is solid. I love both Smiths. Those guys are solid. You'd love to see one more inside linebacker, and you'd like to see a little bit more depth at safety. I talked about depth at safety previous to the injuries that we experienced today. But if you have a little bit more depth, if you have another inside linebacker like Oren Burks coming back, if you have a little bit more depth at safety, that's going to allow Pettin to go out there and scheme a little bit different for these teams. He's not going to be able to show, the same looks week in and week out, and that's going to, create a little bit of game planning problems for these offenses that they're going to face. But man, I'm going to be a drunken, skewed Packer fan right now, but I don't see a ton of weaknesses on this team outside of maybe inside linebacker, maybe depth at safety, and then obviously backup quarterback. But I'm also of the mindset that if Rodgers ever goes down, the entire season's over anyway. There's not a ton of backup quarterbacks that's going to give you a Super Bowl victory. So let me stew on that one a little bit. Ask me again next week what I think the weakness is. But I think for 2 weeks in a row, we've put out really solid performances. The defenses look good. We knew that Dalvin Cook was going to rush. I didn't think that we needed to stop him and slow him down to come away with a victory. And Dalvin Cook was 6-0. Or the Vikings were 6-0 when they rushed for more than 100 yards heading into the game. And now they're 6-1 because they had over 100 yards rushing against the Packers, and they were still able to come up with the victory and have a successful game. So boom to the stats. Let's see what else we got here. Guys, go ahead and comment in. I'm reading some of them out. I'm just trying to answer. Wake up. I had a lot of Jello shots. I don't see much weakness either. There we go. So yeah, that's kind of my last comment. If you guys don't have any more questions, I mean, heck, I only got 9 viewers right now. I appreciate every single one of you 9 viewers for tuning in. I gotta maybe figure out the best time to do these live videos. I mean, there's a Bears game on right now that I know I would like to be watching. There's a Rams versus the Saints game on right now that I'm sure I'd like to be watching as well. So maybe I'll tweak these a little bit with these noon games. Maybe I'll save the Q&As for later on in the afternoon or the evening. But if there's no more questions, no more feedback, nothing else that you guys want to talk to, then I think I might sign off for the day, unless I have anything else to really talk about. Thoughts on the defense? Defense looked good. If you're just tuning in right now, I think the defense was solid. I think the Vikings offense, I think the Vikings team, I think we beat a really good team today. I think the Vikings are a better team than the Chicago Bears. The fact that they were down 21-0 and they were able to claw back, fight back, and make their way into the game on the road, that says a lot about the Vikings team. I do have respect for them, especially because we beat them. I can say that. I'm not angry at the Viking fans, although I did have 3 dislikes in my final thoughts video, and they were all from Viking fans, so I just wish that you guys would just go away personally. But overall, I think the defense is solid. I think they obviously are going to improve. Amos was quiet today. He had 1 great tackle in the backfield. Outside of that, he was quiet. They didn't get a whole lot of sacks on Kirk Cousins, but I don't think they needed to. And, yeah, they gave up a bunch of running yards. But the biggest thing is my key to victory was to shut down Thielen, and they held Thielen to 5 catches for 75 yards and no touchdown. That is easily the worst performance that he's had against the Packers in the last 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, good job with that. I think that was the key to victory. I think that was obviously a difference. Stephon Diggs, yes, was able to get loose and score a long touchdown, but I love the defense. Good job. Saints-Rams game isn't very good. Breeze went out with an injury. Bears are also winning and should win. Any concerns about the run defense? I don't. I don't have a ton of concerns about the run defense. Dalvin Cook's a really good running back. I remember, what did he get drafted 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It was 2017 that he got drafted. And I remember he was like, I think the Vikings had a pick 2 or 3, 4 picks ahead of us. And I remember thinking, man, if he falls to the Packers, that was right at the end of Eddie Lacy drama where he was no longer on the team and we needed a running back. I really wanted to pick Dalvin Cook up off of in the NFL draft. But obviously the Vikings picked him up, and he's a great running back. I think your good running backs, your great running backs are going to get yards regardless. They're going to obviously come away with rushing yards throughout the game. I'm not too concerned about the rush defense. Outside of the 170, I mean, if you take away that 75-yard rush that he had, Dalvin Cook would have finished with under 100 yards in the game because he finished on 20 carries, 154 yards, and that 1 touchdown. Had you eliminated that 75-yard rush, he might not have had any touchdowns. He would have been held to under 100 yards, and the Packers' rush defense would have looked a whole lot better on the stat sheet. So don't take a whole lot away from it. I think they did a good job of tackling. I think they did a good job of being up there and stopping the rush and forcing Kirk Cousins to beat him, which obviously is not going to do it. Having Kirk Cousins as your quarterback is not going to do it. FR, he is just really good running back. Yep, I would have liked Cook. And then Packers Broncos prediction next week. You guys want me to get in my predictions already? There's only 7 of you. Why? Okay, because there's 7 of you who tuned in to this live Q&A on a Sunday afternoon, I'll give you my thoughts on the Broncos game next week. So Packers come off of a week 1 and a week 2 divisional games. A lot of added intensity, a lot of hype around, is this defense good? What's the offense going to do? I think obviously, I think the mindset was there for week 1 and week 2 against the Bears and the Vikings. We have in week 4, we go to a Thursday night. We're at home Thursday night against the Eagles. This is one of those games against the Broncos team with Vic Fangio as the new head coach and a good defense that the Packers could easily drop the ball on. This is one of those games where no matter how good the Packers offense and that team in general looks, this is one where you can somehow find a way to maybe skip past it and let you drop the ball a little bit. So this Broncos game is I don't know, throwing to me a lot of cautious optimism. I think if there is an upset game or a potential first loss of the season, I would put it on this. But I'm going to probably dive into that a lot more when I do my final thoughts preview. That's a little bit of a snippet. Packers are at home. It's a noon game. They should come away with a victory, but if there's probably 2 or 3 games throughout the year that I think will sneak up on the Packers if they somehow manage to look past it. And especially if the Broncos lose again today to the Bears, and you have the 0-2 Broncos coming to town, and you're looking forward to that Eagles game. That's not gonna help things whatsoever. So they could look past it. They could be surprised, and they could end up with their first loss of the year with Denver. But let's see how the week shakes out. Let's wrap up the video for now. I've been recording for 31 minutes. I will be back sometime throughout the week. I posted a week 1 review last Tuesday, and I lost 2 subscribers, and I only have 200 views. So I'm like, well, maybe I won't do those anymore. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just hold my final thoughts videos for Fridays and post every Friday. So I appreciate every single one of you for the support. Obviously, for tuning in. That means the world to me. I'm just down here in my basement, hanging out, talking about Packers. It's a lot of fun. And until next time, I will see you on the internet. Thanks for watching, guys.